We move on to Karima from Tanzania. Introduce yourself briefly and then tell us why, for you as a young woman, why is this conversation important?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yeah. How about there? Yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Regina Kilima, as introduced. I work with the Commonwealth Sustainable Energy Youth Action, the Tanzanian chapter. And what we basically do is help young women, girls, who live in rural areas get to school, because what happens, a lot of them cannot attend school because they go to search for energy sources, that is charcoal or firewood. And because of that, they're not in school. And also, they are sexually harassed because they meet with older men there who trade firewood or charcoal for energy. So we help the young girls give them a sustainable, a just transition of energy so that they can stay in school, reduce pregnancy, early pregnancies, and generally keep them safe. So this conversation is important in relation to Laudato Si. As my sister said, the first paragraph talks about women and Mary. So we try to put girls and young women in the front line. We try to keep them in school. We try to help their mothers in the society. When we give them a just energy transition, or when we give them a cleaner energy in their households, they can do other stuffs economically. So what we're trying to do in relation to Laudato Si is to help the women in terms of gender to progress their life economically, but also protect young girls to stay in school. And we are fortunate to be born in families where we have access to energy sources and all of that, but some are not. So the conversation today is how can we help these young girls who are not privileged enough as maybe we are, to help them go in school, stay in school, and have a clean and just energy transition. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we will finish this round we'll finish this round with Professor Mary Catherine Ngono from Kenya. You will introduce yourself briefly and then tell us why you think this conversation is important. And don't be tempted to go into your work in details, because the second round, which is final, is for you to talk about your work, which I have particular questions for that.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I am Dr. Catherine Binelli, as you've heard. This conversation is important because women are always excluded in most decision-making activities. And the point in the Laudato Si, the encyclical, there were three main thematics. There should be inclusion. There should be inclusion of the poor, the marginalized group. And who are the most marginalized in the community? It is women. And also indigenous community. And this group are the people, they know, they have the traditional knowledge, they have what it takes to heal their land. So, in short, this conversation is so important because women's voices have to be heard. Women are the majorities. And I'll pose this question. When you go to the community, when you go to churches, how many women attend church services, or how many participate in communities? It is women. But now, how come their voices are not heard? And they have so much. And there's a ecofeminist theory says women are so connected to the earth, and they know what to do. They have the knowledge. Now, if they are not participating in the decision-making processes, then what will happen? Know the cause of the problem to be able to resolve it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll come back to you. Actually, you will be the next one because now we'll go this way. Huh? Can you hear me? No? Some are saying yes, some are saying no. I can just shout. Can you hear? Okay. So, Dr. Mary Catherine, in your findings, you talk about barriers hindering women's participation in environmental decision-making processes, and you made actually very clear recommendations on how they can be a gender-sensitive approach to environmental decision-making. My question to you is, well, you talk about Vuasa County in Kenya, but my question is, what are some of the resources that can be used, according to your knowledge, from the Catholic spirituality in Africa, as well as the communitarian ethos of I am because we are, and how can those resources be used to implement, to carry out a rollout of the recommendations that you have made?
Thank you.
2 minutes.
All right. Yeah, about the Catholic spirituality, I'll give my view, but not from a theological, it's from a social science perspective. Where I'll talk about, it basically talks about social, it basically talked about Christianity. Spirituality really talks about what goes on with the social teachings, and this basically mentions issues of social justice. It talks about issues of human dignity. How does, if we take an example of Jesus, Jesus never discriminated, I would think. So we are meant to emulate what Jesus did. There is no group that was secluded from decision making. And also from my work, women are the ones who are basically excluded from these decisions. So with the resources, having the traditional knowledge, having the cultural knowledge, I may say, if together with spirituality, the question I posed, how many women do you find in churches, on Sundays, midweek, in communities? They are the majorities, and they are the ones actually driving the community. So now, including their spirituality with all this will really promote and increase or make their voices to be heard. I will not really, and these are because of the barriers that I may talk in detail later on, that I will not dispute the fact that culture or cultural norms are the ones that dictate these roles to the women. Women are confined to the private sphere. So she is the one who is more in tune with the environment. If I'll put it, she talks to the environment more. Who are the ones who go cultivating? She's the one. But the man is the provider. He'll go out looking for money, trying to make ends meet, but taking it back where? To the family. And when it comes to, when women look at this, at the environment with a different lens,
I would like to, first of all, put you on the two, Martha and Mary. Women often multitask, so they can be doctors, not women. Why we are here is to actually have that conversation. Why is it that the men is what we are seeing more?
How are we promoting nature-based solutions? Basically, that's what we've been focusing on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Damaris. We move on to you, Karima. As a young person that is actively involved in the protection of your environment, working with the grassroots, can you share two major challenges that threaten the viability and sustainability of the grassroots ecological movements that you work with and their good practices? How do these movements unpack and embody the Laudato Si according to your experience?
Okay, thank you very much. One of the challenges that can face the grassroots movement is uncertainty in the funds or in the political administration that is currently globally. We all know at around February, I think, the US pulled itself out from the Paris Agreement, but also cutted funds. All the US aid was cut, and from that, people lost their jobs. Some of the programs were stopped. There was no sustainability in the programs that had already started. So one of the challenges that can happen to the grassroots movements is uncertainty of funds, or from a political perspective, anything can happen at any time. And I think that is a wake-up call to the grassroots movement. What can we do if we don't have funds? How can we move collectively and still help our community if we don't have the reliability of funds? But another thing, especially in the area that I work, is sometimes there are gaps in our policies or our laws that can cause the grassroots movement not to bring fruition. And an example is there's a particular indigenous community that we worked with, and we're trying to implement that girls in that community should go to school because they actually don't. And there's a policy, or actually a law in the country that says children are supposed to go to school. But there's another policy, that a cultural one, that protects indigenous people and the values and everything that they do. So there's a gap between that. We want to take kids to school, but they're also saying that culturally we are protected. We cannot do just anything that you want. So another thing that can make the indigenous movement that we do not be sustainable will be the policy gaps that we have. Another one, quickly, can be the tension between donor conditions and the cultural norms that maybe we have as a community. Sometimes the donor conditions do not equip to the values maybe that we have. And the implementation now of the maybe practices that we want to do, or the change or the transition, maybe in climate, in water, in energy, cannot happen in a common home that we are all trying to make common home, that we are all trying to make the world a better place, whether we are dealing with gender, whether we're dealing with community, whether we're dealing with climate change. All of us are trying to together to care for our common values and care for Mother Nature. But an example, I am a Gen Z activist, consultant, whatever you name it. So we are being now included, listened to, and that I think that is a positive way to where we're going. We're being empowered, not just included, but empowered too. Young people, women, young girls, they are given platforms to speak, to participate in decision making, which collectively, again, brings me to my point, to care of our common people and care about our environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kalima. We have 9 minutes according to the time you gave us. And I'm wondering whether I'll give 1 minute to Mary because she complained that I asked her one question, not the other question. So just for you to feel, empowered to do your thing, 1 minute. And then we will invite the community to ask questions.
Okay, thank you. Imagine a scenario where animals are fighting, the environment is fighting back, women are crying. What have I mentioned? 3 things. The environment is crying, the earth, women are crying, and also the animals, livestock. Very briefly, where I conducted my study is at the coast of Mombasa, in Taita, the coast of Kenya, where the upper land is so forested, but now has been deforested by men, and the lowland, land degradation, where there is a savo park, where animals are always on the run, fighting. In fact, there is human-wildlife conflict, and it's very intense. Interestingly, when I went to collect data, we encountered elephants. And with the research assistants, we were told what to do so that we are not devoured by the elephants. And it was serious. So in that place, women are the ones who complain more about the conflict. Because a lot of development, there's a presenter who talked about what the Chinese are doing. They have brought development in the area. There is what is called it is good, it is development, but at what at the expense of what? The indigenous community. Because now the corridors of the wildlife are interfered. So what do? They are trying to survive. They go to homes, houses, they call them lions, elephants, buffaloes. They are in search of water because their catchment area has been destroyed. And they need to live, they need to survive. What do? That's one conflict. So there's also the issue of human settlement. Population is growing and people are looking for houses. So the land that was dedicated for wildlife, also for the forest, is being deforested and degraded for many reasons. And also there are a lot of mining that goes on in that area. So the question that imagine in your mind, all these are crying, so no one is at peace. So the communitarian ethos, we are because I am, and vice versa. We cannot do it alone. We cannot do it alone. We need to involve men, women, the youth, and even the children in the community to be able to combat the effect of climate change. Because in that area, we can really feel the effect of climate change, prolonged drought, and when it rains, the floods is really devastating. Why? Because the trees have been cut for commercial purposes, and there are areas for development purposes. So the question that was asked, is the earth crying? Yes. Are women crying? Yes. Is livestock crying? Yes. What should we do?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now you are leading the, questions to the all-female panelists representing the men.
One minute. I feel, thank you so much, panel members, and thanks so much for the conversation. I feel I wanted to share one thing, and it's a question. But beginning from this idea from a professor in Kabale University, Barije, he says there is no monopoly of suffering. As women who feel excluded, they feel suffering, they feel they are crying. The men who feel included, rest assured they are crying. What is the issue is that there is a common elephant in the room, not the ones that you found, that is really trampling upon everybody. So each community has a secret. So my feeling, don't you think the role of women is misrepresented by this conversation that seems to be looking at women and disregarding the men? Traditionally, the men value highly, or the community values highly, the role of women, and that's why they protect them in different ways. Could you say something about why the role of women seems to be misrepresented in society?
We will collect several questions. Yes.
Briefly, thank you, presenters. My question is, how do we balance this equation, solve this palaver, move forward? Gender involvement in food security. In my country, there is a segment of the country in the east and some parts of the west where women, they are fully involved in farming, more than men. In fact, after marriage, the man will cut some parts of the land to the woman. Even a public servant, she will still be ready to farm. But in the other part, that's Nigeria, in the western part, women are dominantly involved in agro-processing, palm oil, using farm waste, and the man himself goes on farming. Now, how do we balance it? Knowing that by way of economic reasoning, these two people are active at this level, for the purpose of this palaver to move forward, how do we balance? Making sure these people that are putting their efforts, they can be empowered. How do we do it? Thank you.
We are going to take 3 more, and that will be it.
Thank you. I think I want to address the issue of policy and culture, because I think this is an issue that is very prevalent in most parts of the region, especially here in Africa. And my friend Regina mentioned that in Tanzania, I think for representation, that policies and culture has been quite a big issue in terms of integrating both of the issues and ensuring that communities really take up some of these solutions. So to my panel, I think this is where now we can be able to learn from one another, not just to Regina, but to others who also have the same issues in their part of the country. How can we move forward with these issues? Because at the same time, remember, communities want solutions that works for them, but also at the same time, we're also providing some that can work for the communities. And also these are guided by the policies we have at the government level, even at the county level. So at the national and county level, sorry. So how can we move forward with this issue?
Okay, this is Martha Piri from Malawi. My question goes to, I can't really recall the name, but the lady in beautiful attire, in a blue attire, yes. I think when you were sharing with us, you also mentioned the achievements of what you have done at, I think, in Nigeria, and you have been working with the government policies and everything. So I'm just interested to know more in terms of achievements aside resources, because we have the donor shrink, everything is happening in the issues of sustainability, and we understand women are really mostly affected, but they're the ones who are really leading issues of, let's say, climate action. So what else are you doing? I just want to appreciate from you, aside doing things because of maybe resources that are there. What else have you done in terms of achievement? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Talking about the role of gender, particularly women, in safeguarding the environment. Whenever we talk about the earth or the land, we refer to it in a feminine perspective. We talk about Mother Earth which is a feminine language. We talk about motherland, which is a feminine language. And I think that points out to the fact that women have a specific role in this case in protecting the motherland or the mother earth. Now, referring to your question, is the earth crying? Yes. Are women crying? Yes. How is the cry of women affecting men in as far as environmental protection or degradation is concerned? Thank you.
Dr. Moya, I request as the panelists answer these questions, they combine that with their closing statements. Thank you.
So we have 5 questions from my counting, if I can still count well. The first one has to do with the balancing the role of women and men in communities. The second one has to do with policy and catches the friction and how do we solve that. The third one is the achievements that have been done in Nigeria from our sister's story and what are the lessons. And the third one is Earth as Mother Earth and all the feminine language. Does it mean that the onus of care is on the shoulders of women? I mean, well, that's my paraphrasing. So let's start from the young people. And then we go this way, but be precise and do your closing remarks as well.
Okay, very well. Thank you. I will answer the policy question, policy and cultural, and how do we merge it. I think the first thing that we can do is put representation from the ground level. I think most policies and laws are made by the top level people who have not been on the ground, who have not seen and experienced what the indigenous people are actually feeling. So if we have representation from the ground level, maybe from the village, going to the ward, going to the district, to the municipal, to the region, to the nation. If we have representation, I think somehow we can cover the gap that is in our policies and our laws, and we can move from one point to another. But I also think awareness to the communities, because some communities are resilient to the change that is trying to be made for their own good. So maybe a little bit of awareness can be made, education, but also approach. Some indigenous communities have isolated themselves. They have lived in a certain way for a long time. So them accepting changes is a little bit hard. So the approach that is also used to explain to them and to educate to them should be of their language. So approach, I think, is also a good thing to get comments and information from them to how to better help them so that we can make our policies and our strategies and laws nicely. And to finish, I want to answer generally our conference, what is asking, 10 years, where is Africa? We are moving. It might be a slow pace, but we are moving. We are changing. We are revolutionizing everything and every aspect from energy to water to climate. There's something that is being done. So together, if we still in our hearts move in a unity time, we can make it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karima. We move on to our sister Damaris.
Okay, quickly. Policy advocacy is just one aspect of our work. One of the major achievements that we have recorded in our organization is capacity building of local communities on climate adaptation. Recently, we concluded a project where we had one of our beneficiaries launched her organic and fertilizer and pesticides company. And it will interest you to know that this is someone with albinism. This project targeted persons with disability, and they were trained on different areas where they could have alternative sources of livelihood, and also with local farmers. We also trained them on seed multiplication, because most of the seedlings that they have in their communities are no longer yielding well because of the climate change issues. So we trained them on how to multiply seeds with the support of climate-resistant seeds that were provided for them. And we also use this community approach, whereby our funding does not really target people at the national level. We go to community level. We empower community-based organizations to also take over the responsibility of engaging with government at different levels. And for the regional level, my organization supported the training of 150 African women on negotiation. Now you see more young women come up, and we also run mentorship programs for them to take up these conversations, because the older ones are getting tired. Most of the COPs that we've had recently, most of them are not participating because they said they're tired of having the same conversation. So capacity building mentorship is what we've been doing at our organization. And lastly, for me, you cannot achieve environmental justice without gender justice. And gender justice is not just about women, it's about everybody.